Ahoy there! Captain Benzie here, coming at you from the Fulmination Content Creator Test Server with an extra special ship fitting guide for EVE Echoes. Now, a lot of you folks have been messaging me about how much you've enjoyed the Canyue Prototype Battlecruiser. That's the one you get at the end of the 30-day login rewards for the first time as an Omega pilot. You've been messaging me, showing me all the cool fits you've done and all the kinds of crazy content you've been doing. Now, as I've got access to the Fulmination Test Server, I thought it would be fun to actually undock and try out the full Canyue Battlecruiser. This is not the prototype we're looking at today, this is the actual Battlecruiser itself. Now, obviously, I am on the Fulmination Test Server. We don't know how or when you're going to be able to get the Canyue Battlecruiser as on live server, and we also don't know if it will be exactly the same as this. This is all, therefore, subject to change. And as a full kind of reveal there, the test server does have me maxed out on all skills. I can access all ships, all modules in order to showcase those for you, but it obviously gives me no benefit whatsoever on live. So anyway, in today's video, we're going to have a look at the full Yangjun Canyue Battlecruiser and see how this actually works and how it changes compared to the prototype. If you do enjoy this video, let me know by hitting like on it. Subscribe to the channel for all things EVE Echoes, ding that notification bell so that you know when the next video goes live, and of course let me know in the comment section below what ships and what topics you want to see me cover in future videos. And yes, I can access ships that aren't currently available in live. If you've got an absolute burning question, I may be able to have a look and get a sneaky peek at some of those ships that are yet to come. If you do want to go the extra mile to help support this channel, you can do so by joining us on Patreon, and of course we do now have a Redbubble merchandise store, so if you've ever fancied representing the Catskull Academy, now you can do so on things like notebooks, phone cases, t-shirts, hoodies, you name it, and there are plenty more designs coming. But again, do let me know in the comment section if there's a particular design you would like to see me add to the store. That all said and done, sorry for the long intro, but of course I do have a lot of information just to get clear in regards to the test server here. Let's jump in then and talk about the Canyue Battlecruiser. Whew, yeah, I know those intros can get a little bit wordy, and I do apologise for that. Believe me, I know, I'm the one who has to do it every time. But if I don't do it, then I get messages from people like, hey, you didn't mention that you're on a test server, how did you get this on live? I didn't know you had a merch store, all that kind of thing there. So I do put timestamps in the description of every single video. If you don't want to go through that intro, you can just skip ahead, though it does usually contain some quite important info. Anyway, that said and done, let's talk about the Yangjun. The Yangjun are a new faction available exclusively in EVE Echoes. You will not find these in EVE Online, or at least you won't find the ships. The Yangjun themselves do exist in the backstory of the EVE universe. They were the first race through the EVE Gate when it first opened from our universe into New Eden. After the EVE Gate collapsed and sealed off New Eden as its own little private cluster, and they were therefore unable to get back to our Milky Way galaxy, the Yangjun kind of disappeared for a long time, and in EVE Online they still haven't reappeared. They are this mysterious race with very powerful technology that kind of exist in the shadows and in the backstory, and no one knows who they are or where they're coming from, all of that kind of thing. Whereas in EVE Echoes, we now have them kind of coming as a re-emergence. We've seen a couple of their ships in the form of the Canyue Prototype Destroyer and the Canyue Prototype Battlecruiser. So today, though, we are going to look at the Canyue Battlecruiser itself. Very cool ship. I know a lot of people that, like to make fun of this ship as half complete. I really like this. If you think about it, on one side you've got this armor-plated hull that is all about, the armor and just looking shiny. On the other side of the ship, this supposedly incomplete side, that's kind of your sensor arrays, your viewports, all of that kind of thing there. That is how you are looking out from the ship, and you can see that's where the cannons actually are as well. You've got the 4 hard slots there, hard points on the side. I actually really like this ship. I like how it looks. I had a lot of bad experiences with the Canyue Prototype back in the final test server, but I do really like how it looks like a Chinese Gundao pole armor. It's like the blade of that, and I do kind of like that pagoda aesthetic, the temples almost sticking out the side. It's an interesting design ship, certainly unique, and it really makes a mark on New Eden, whilst, in my opinion, still really fitting in and looking the part. Anyway, let's actually have a look at the attributes and fittings here of the Canyue. You've got one drone launcher. This can launch either small or medium drones. We've got 4 high slots, 4 mid slots, 5 low slots, 3 mechanical rigs, and 3 power grid rigs. And this makes this a very powerful ship because it is, of course, using decomposers. And if you've ever tried the Canyue Prototype or the Canyue Prototype, you'll know that decomposers can be a very powerful weapon system. We get 4 of them here in the high slots. 5 low slots gives us a lot of variety and tankability. 4 mid slots as well. Again, we've got a lot of variety, a lot of different things we can play around with there. The power grid here of the Canyue itself as well is a lot better than the Prototype. 1074. This is a much better power grid. Heck, the Prototype still got a decent power grid. You were able to fit some oversized modules. Here, you can definitely fit multiple oversized modules, as we'll showcase later. Defensively speaking, this is fairly tanky for a battlecruiser, 37,766. As far as battlecruisers go, that's not terrible, and certainly it's mainly here in shield and structure. 13,513 shield, 12,320 structure. The armor of a Canyue, however, is absolutely abysmal, 5,197. It is less than half of what you have in the shields. This means if your shield tank, which is obviously how you're going to fit this ship, if your shield tank fails, you are going to have your armor punched through like wet paper bag. It is not a good armor tank at all. Certainly you'll find you go straight from shield pretty much into structure. There is no padding in the middle there at all, and that can create for a very scary situation if, like me, you're testing things, you push it a little bit too far and you find that suddenly you've gone from shields into structure. It's scary. You get the shield sound screaming at you, then suddenly you get the armor sound screaming at you and the hull sound screaming at you, all in the space of like 3 seconds. Oh my goodness, it's the stuff of nightmares. Now, the capacitor here as well of the Canyue is a massive upgrade from the Prototype. If there is a big problem with the Prototype, it is the capacitor. And here, 5,272 gigajoules of capacitor with a max capacitor recharge rate of 21.75 really does help that. It's still not particularly capacitor stable, but it is a darn sight better than the Prototype was. Signature radius is also remarkably small for a battlecruiser, at least 176.4 meters. A lot of battlecruisers are over the 200 mark, so it's nice to see this one below the 178 mark. Flight velocity, also fairly slow, 169 meters per second. It's middling to slow for a battlecruiser, but that signature radius is a little bit lower than we might otherwise see. Of course, we are looking at a battlecruiser here. Speed tanking is not really going to be a thing, and with that flight velocity, you can kind of see why. Scan resolution of 362 is actually surprisingly solid as well. That is a very solid scan resolution for a battlecruiser. With a couple of rigs or a couple of skills into that as well, you can lock on surprisingly quickly. An important point to note here, it's got a very similar mass to other battlecruisers, but it has a much higher inertia modifier. A lot of battlecruisers tend to have like a 0.2, 0.3 inertia modifier. Here the Canyue has a 0.5. That means this is a very slow lumbering beast. It takes a long time to turn and realign and sort of achieve warp, to accelerate, to decelerate, that kind of thing, and you are never going to achieve a tight orbit with this ship. Like literally you could put on 3 full tech level 4 at the inertia modifier rigs, and it's just not going to help you there. Anyway, let's look then at the trait descriptions here. So the roll bonuses are very similar to the Prototype. We've got a 25% increase to medium decomposer optimal range, an 80% increase to medium decomposer damage, plus 1 warp stability, and we can fit command bursts. Now again, command bursts aren't in the game yet. They're actually, from what I can see, not even on the Fulmination Test Server. So I can't even give you a sneaky peek as to what those might be, beyond what they are in EVE Online. And in EVE Online, they're a little activatable module that shoots a burst out around you, and that will give a buff to armor HP or shield HP, and in some cases you can get like mining buff ones as well on ships like the Rorqual. As far as command bursts go, though, we don't know how they're going to be in EVE Echoes. We can guess that they might be similar to EVE Online, but we've got no idea for Echoes, so I'm not going to say anything more on those. That warp stability means, obviously, we need at least 2 points of warp jamming strength in order to lock down a Canyue as naked, and of course you can fit modules or rigs on to improve that further if you really don't want to get this thing caught in PvP. The backstory behind that is that the Yanjung are supposedly masters of warp technology, warp and sort of this particle acceleration. They're very good with that kind of thing going on. So that's why you've got the stability built into the ship here. I'm personally of the mind that I don't think a ship needs built-in stability, but hey, there we go. Maybe that's just me. Now, the roll bonuses there to medium decomposer, optimal range, and damage are a little bit better than the standard Canyue Prototype. That's to be expected. Of course, we're coming across to a mainline ship. We're also getting bonuses here from skills. This is something that the Canyue Prototype does not have. So not only is the roll bonus better, we're also getting bonuses from the skills. And in this case, Advanced Medium Decomposer Upgrade is an increase of 10% extra damage per level, obviously 50% at full training, and a 5% increase to Medium Decomposer Optimal Range. That's a further 25% optimal range at full training. Now, Decomposers do have very high damage, but very short range. So the fact that the Canyue Battlecruiser here gets those bonuses to optimal range, kind of, it's taking a weapon system and actually making it viable, is how the Canyue here works. Same here, you'll see Advanced Battlecruiser Command gives an increase of plus 10% warp speed and plus 5% shield. Now that is shield size. That means at a full training here, Advanced Battlecruiser Command 5, we're getting 25% extra shield. So instead of that 13,513, we're getting an additional 25% on top of that, which off the top of my head is what, close to 3,000 extra. So we're probably looking at around 16,000, if not higher, thanks to other skills. It makes for a very tanky shield tank. And the warp speed there, the 50% increase to warp speed, means rather than 2.7 AU per second, we're going to be getting an additional 1.35 on top of that, which takes us up to 4.05 in quick math, so it could be horrifically wrong there, making for a very fast to relocate ship, making this excellent for doing encounters. If you're one of those people who likes to do your encounters in high sec and low sec, and you're going to be jumping from system to system, encounter to counter, the Canyue is going to get you there faster thanks to that warp speed bonus. And remember, that's on top of the fact that you're already getting 100% increase to warp speed in high sec and 50% increase in a low sec. Makes it very quick to relocate when you're encounter running. Makes this an excellent ship for encounter running. I've been playing with the Canyue Battlecruiser for a few days now, and this is the build that ultimately I've settled on. It may not be the most optimal build, it may not be the best build, but for me, it was the most fun and reliable build. And I know that there's going to be someone in the comment section down below, fresh out from under their bridge on Reddit, who is going to be telling me, oh, your build is monstrous, it's all wrong. This was just the one I had most fun with. Of course, play with it yourself, have some cool ideas. I do spend a lot of time here on the Fulmination Test Server. I spend most of my days playing Eve Echoes now on the test server, just messing around with different things to make content. It's not like I jump in a ship once or twice and then make a video. I do a lot of testing on these, and this is the build I've personally had most fun with. Now, a word here about decomposers. Obviously, we're using medium Jetstream decomposers. Here, I've gone for the Sacrificed. The Sacrificed are not available on Live currently. On Live, we only have the Returned to the Meta Level 5. These are the Meta Level 8. I've gone for Meta Level 8 gear across the board here on this Canyue, as I'm kind of expecting that when the Canyue becomes available on Live, we'll also have access to some of the gear. Basically, I'm imagining that all of the Yanjung stuff drops in one update. So fingers crossed that's how it is, and we've just gone for Meta Level 8 across the board. Anyway, as I said, a note on decomposers. First of all, their damage is monstrous. There's no two ways about that. Damage is monstrous. 248 DPS. That is done by 1032 kinetic, 631 explosive, with an activation time of 6.72. This means they're basically on par with almost autocannons, pulse lasers, and snub-nosed railguns, etc. for their activation time, and very high damage. The downsides, though, come in the form of, first of all, their range. The decomposers have an optimal range that is fairly comparable to the maximum range of medium missiles, but they don't have that 100% ability to hit. Beyond that as well, you'll notice they do not have an accuracy fall-off. They are turrets without an accuracy fall-off. This means at 46.88 kilometers, you're hitting for your full effectiveness, 248 DPS. At 46.89 kilometers, you will miss every time because you're outside of optimal range. That's how it works here with the decomposers. Simple as that. Beyond this as well, tracking speed 16.34 is very low here. Decomposers kind of have a similar tracking speed to they've got similar ranges overall to the short range version of turrets, but they've got tracking speeds on par with the long range version of turrets. This is right up there with medium beam lasers, medium strike cannons, and medium rifled railguns. This ultimately means that you've kind of got that worst of both worlds in some senses, in that you've got short range but you've got very slow tracking speed, made up for by that absolutely monstrous damage. And that tracking speed is something that does need to be taken into consideration. That means if we're going to be sitting at the 46 kilometer mark, I want to make sure that I'm hitting anything small whilst it approaches. Whilst it's approaching and got a very low angular velocity, that's when I want to take it out. So 2 target painters increase the signature radius of those targets, allow me to blap them with those decomposers and remove them from the grid before they become a threat. Now, in the horrific case that they do actually get close enough to start orbiting and increasing their angular velocity, then that tracking speed is really going to struggle. To assist, I've gone for a Warp Scrambler and a Predator Stasis Webifier. Now, obviously, the Warp Scrambler is there to switch off any micro warp drives, especially with elites in story-based missions, and the Webifier then reduces their flight velocity by a further 61%, makes them very slow, very easy to hit. Well, I say very easy to hit, makes them much easier to hit, although the decomposers will still struggle. Hopefully this will help the infiltrator drone start to do some damage there, and as you'll see later, with correct slingshot maneuvering, you can still then drop the target's angular velocity comparative to you by messing up its orbit, having it webified and scrambled as well, so it's got no micro warp drive, can make it very easy to hit and allow you just to get that quick pot shot off and take it out of action. Of course, we do also have a micro warp drive. That means if something is small and quick and on its route to us, we can hit it with that with those target painters, activate the micro warp drives, and try and blast in a straight line directly away as quickly as possible, so we maximize the amount of time that that oncoming ship has a very low angular velocity whilst the decomposers take it out. Obviously, you do need to be aware of the range. Now, yes, I had a choice here between an afterburner or a micro warp drive, and my reasoning here to explain why I settled on the micro warp drive was because an afterburner, even with a dynamic fuel valve, this is not a particular capacitor stable ship. I was finding that having the afterburner on was A, chewing my capacitor, B, negatively affecting the tracking speed of the decomposers. I was finding it harder to hit and having to switch the afterburner off to make up for that. And C, even with the flight velocity that I have, the short range of the decomposers meant that it took a long time to get into and out of range of my targets. Swapping to a micro warp drive meant I could quickly activate it to get into range of my next target, activate my decomposers, blap them, use the micro warp drive to move on to the next target, rinse and repeat. That's my reasoning. Someone's going to tell me I'm wrong, but that's my reasoning. Now, on the rest of the low slots here as well, I've gone for a Seeker large shield booster. Yes, you can fit a large shield booster comfortably into this power grid. That will allow you here, as you can see, to recharge a lot of shield per cycle. We've got a very, very big shield here on the Canyue. The Canyue's shield tank is very similar to a lot of battleships' shield tanks, and so using a large shield booster kind of makes sense. Even when you activate it, you'll be surprised how few percentage a large shield booster does actually pull up. It's that monstrous of a shield tank. But again, it's not capacitor stable. We want to activate this only when we need to. In fact, in order to reduce the amount of times that we need to activate that shield booster, an Enterprise Adaptive Invulnerability field increases our shield resistances across the board, drops the amount of damage we take, and allows us just to, only activate that shield booster when we really, really need to. And you'll find that we can actually activate the capacitor battery, which we'll see in a moment, and the shield booster at the same time, use the capacitor battery's additional dump to, power the shield booster, and you usually back up at full shield before the battery runs out, and you can kind of then then just use your basic capacitor underneath all of that. Now, talking then about the capacitor battery, it's a large capacitor battery that we can fit here into the Canyue. Again, that power grid is monstrous. Large capacitor battery gives us a humongous capacitor increase here, 1,814 gigajoules, and we can dump in an additional 2,903 on activation for 25 seconds, followed by a 60-second cooldown. At 25 seconds, basically you activate the battery, then got 25 seconds that you can activate the shield booster and the macro particle stabilizer, that kind of thing. You just use all of your capacitor-hungry stuff during the time that your battery is active. Then when the battery disappears, obviously those gigajoules disappear out of your capacitor. Hopefully your natural capacitor has recharged underneath it to a certain amount of to a certain extent, and you just continue on from there. You'll see that in effect later on. Now, the final low slot here is kind of up to you. There are different ways and different things you can put in here. I've gone for a sacrificed macro particle stabilizer. Again, this is like a gyro stabilizer, a heat sink, a magnetic field stabilizer, that kind of thing. Basically, this increases the damage of your decomposers. Like those, you've got the standard damage bonus and activation time adjustment just for having it fitted. Then you can activate it for an additional boost, in this case 8.6% additional boost of damage, and increase the activation time adjustment boost by 400%. So you go from, what, a 4.3 to about a 17% activation time increase. That's a big boost, a lot of DPS gets dumped in, and this does get us to a nice 990.1 DPS with those turrets. Obviously, if you're in drone range as well, you get that additional 35.13 for a total of 1025.22. That's fairly exciting DPS, I feel, from a battle cruiser like this. But hey, maybe that's just me. Now, the macro particle stabilizer there, you can swap for another adaptive invulnerability field if you want, to make yourself a little bit tankier, though I do find that, again, that starts to eat into the capacitor quite a bit. We can also swap in a tracking computer there as well, gives us a little bit extra range onto the decomposers. That's probably the one I'd recommend. That's a lot of fun to do that. You'll see that I've gone for this build just to showcase all the extra damage, but if you're going to go for anything, try the tracking computer as well. It's worth giving a shot just to see which version you prefer. I personally prefer the slightly shorter range one, as you'll see later on, but adding that extra range does help you just maintain capacitor stability a little bit more by keeping you at further range and not requiring you to use that micro warp drive as often. Now, in regards to the rigs, the power grid rigs, I've gone here for a decomposer collision accelerator, extra damage, and 2 decomposer burst aerators. It's the typical DPS setup. Again though, if you're interested in making this a little bit tankier, swap this second one here for the shield rig that increases your shield size. You could go for the one that reduces the amount of capacitor that a shield booster requires, but in fairness, if your shields are that big, you barely have to turn the shield booster on. So it's kind of just, I would honestly go for the one that just makes your shields bigger. You can go for the electromagnetic field stabilizer as well, and not electromagnetic field stabilizer, you know the one I mean. The rig that reduces the amount of electromagnetic damage you take by increasing your resistance to it. Again, useful, especially if you're going into PvP or you're going against Amar ships. On the other side of things, in the combat rigs, I've gone for in the mechanical rigs, I've gone for a targeting system subcontroller. This allows us just to lock on that little bit faster to our targets, open fire sooner. We are quite short range, which means if we are going to start shooting at something like an interceptor that's on a quick approach to us, on an intercept path I suppose you could say, then we want to be able to lock onto it quickly and start shooting as soon as possible. A dynamic fuel valve is, of course, because we've got a micro warp drive. I kind of have the opinion that if you're fitting a micro warp drive, it's worth having a dynamic fuel valve just to reduce the amount of capacitor it takes to activate. And finally then, auxiliary thrusters, again, tie in with that micro warp drive just to allow us to relocate around the battlefield that little bit faster, get us into optimal range and away from oncoming threats that little bit faster. Now with that, you'll see we've got a basic navigation here, maximum navigation flight velocity of 278.85 as standard. There's that 4.05 AU warp speed. If we then go into targeting, we're looking at a scan resolution of 612. That is above cruiser scan level. That's right up there with most destroyers and indeed frigates. So you do lock on very quickly, especially to the smaller targets, allows us to start lapping things that little bit faster. Offense, as I've said, 1025.22 if we're including the drone, pretty good. Optimal range there is about 46 kilometers, which is, you know, comfortable. I like that kind of range. Defensively speaking, we're looking at 60,435, 24,475 of which is on the shields. That is when we are cold, before we have those adaptive invulnerability field active. Anyway, let's undock this and actually give it a go then. Of the Tech 10 storyline missions, Bad Hair Day is probably the most popular, so of course it's the one I jumped into with the Canyue to give it a try. And the first section, the first combat section, not a problem at all. I barely took any damage, comfortably cleared the entire thing, didn't record it though because I'm an absolute idiot. Did the scan, come out to the second combat section, we're here now in Wave 3, got a couple of Condor 2 interceptors, some Cormorant covert ops. Let's start locking onto those. I am going to micro warp drive at range here, double tap into the distance, activate the micro warp drive, activate the target painters and my decomposers. Now that it's in range, we'll also put on the web of fire and the scrambler just to slow it right down. You see, I'm still missing because it's a fast moving ship and it's already getting that angular velocity as it goes into an orbit. Now that I'm getting a bit more range though, the angular velocity is dropping. We're out of the range there of the scrambler, and hey, there it goes, down in one hit. Okay, let's move on to that Cormorant covert ops. Obviously, the covert ops tend to be ones that use I was going to say they tend to be the ones that use scramblers. Let's lock on then to that Condor 2 in the distance, whilst we take out this Cormorant 2. First shot takes us down halfway through its armor. Second hit from the decompose. Oh, the damage. Oh, gone in 2 hits. On to the next of the Cormorants. Cormorant 2 covert ops, decomposes fire, less than half armor in 1 shot. Ugh, should take it out in this hit. Yep, there we go. Now we've got a Condor 2 interceptor there. That's probably going to be my next target. It's not the closest. There is a Pitham Moa Guardian 2 as well. I don't think that's going to be a particular threat though. I'm going to switch the decomposers off here. Obviously, as I'm approaching, I'm out of range. Decomposers do use capacitor every time they fire, and I don't want to be using capacitor if I know I'm not going to be hitting because I'm outside of range. Now, I could activate the micro warp drive and just blitz my way into this combat. Quite frankly, I'm sitting at 68% capacitor here. I would rather let that recharge naturally as I slowly drift in. There's no point rushing this fight. Take it nice and sedately, and then I can start shooting at these things once I get into range. I just want my capacitor to recharge that little bit in the background there. It's getting up close again. That Moa is a bit closer. I could probably open fire on that, but I'm not sure I could kill it before that Condor 2 comes into range. And if the Condor 2 comes into range and decides it wants to close and orbit me quickly, that could be problematic. I'd rather just focus on taking the Condor 2 interceptor out as soon as we can. We're getting close to range now, 55, 54. Once that hits about the 46 mark, then we'll activate our modules and open fire on that. 49, 48, nearly there, 46. Right, okay, now's probably a good time to activate the battery and everything we need there. Oh, okay. Didn't even get a chance to put the macro particle stabilizer on because I did it in the wrong order. Okay, let's go on to that Moa next. And oh, even against a Moa Guardian, crikey, the amount of damage that's doing there. Most of the shield gone in 1 hit. Went clean through armor in the second hit. Third hit doesn't quite clear the structure though. There we go, 4th hit takes it out. And that Cormorant 2 is now coming into range. So basically what I'm going to do here is take on each of these one by one. Obviously I'm going to go for those smaller targets first. I have opened fire with those decomposers a little bit soon, but the next one should catch it. Let's see. Yes, all the way down to structure in 1 hit. We're going to move towards the Condor 2 interceptor. Basically, pick your target, use the micro warp drive when you have to, and just one by one take out each threat. As I said, the first section of Bad Hair Day, the first combat section, I cleared that without any worries at all. I didn't record it because I was trying to wait for the wave that the elites cropped up in, and I kind of realised I must have killed that wave without realising it. I didn't even spot the elites. We're here now, as I said, in Wave 3 of the second combat section, and hey, 4,095,000 ISK. That's from the bounties of clearing the first waves. We're going to take this Moa out, and move on to the next ships. And that's really it. That's it. This is the Canyue battle cruiser here, capable of doing Tech 10 storyline encounters. Definitely an upgrade from the Canyue Prototype. Wholeheartedly recommend it. I do love this ship. It's really actually quite enjoyable, and I'm looking forward to finding out how and when we're going to get access to this one on live. Let me know your thoughts and opinions, though. Obviously, I know the Yanjung ships are a bit of a sort of, some people love them, some people hate them. Let me know your opinions in the comment section down below. Otherwise, folks, happy sailing, and see you in New Eden!